Well, what's new? Fox News is at it again with their selective outrage. I would expect nothing different from them. Well, Kevin McCarthy, who's the the U.S. House Minority Whip for the Republicans, basically the guy that will become the Speaker of the House if the Republicans take over Congress next year, decides to comment on Alexandria Ocasio Cortez being supposedly the leader of the Democrat Party. And, you know, and her dress, her, even I have to confess, her ridiculous dress from the Met Gala that took place recently, where it's like $12,000 per guest or something like. No, it was like I don't know if it's a $30,000. I think it was. I think the cost $30,000 to get in there, and her dress costs like 12,000, what have you. And I got some words about that too, but I figure you watch this Fox clip, and you'll see what I'm talking about. How ridiculous they are. Of course, what do you expect? It is Fox News. They know about being ridiculous because that's what they are. Totally ridiculous. Okay, give me a moment. Here we go.
All the Democrats are taking aim at your wallet. Look at that. When you see it written out like that, wow. By proposing these steep tax hikes to pay for Joe Biden's $3.5 trillion spending package.
Their plan raises taxes on corporations and high-earning individuals, a theme that Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, the comrade, summed up with her tax the rich gown at last night's swanky Met Gala.
Yeah, they cost $35,000 to take her. Here to react, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Why weren't you there?
Wasn't invited. I don't know.
$35,000. Who pays for that? Out of her pocket?
I'm not quite sure as a member of Congress how you legally can go there. You can't accept a ticket, so I'm not sure how that works.
So could she use her campaign funds to pay for that ticket?
If it was a fundraiser, but it wasn't a fundraiser, you'd have to use personal money.
It has to be a fundraiser for her, because it is a fundraiser for the Met.
But not for her, yeah.
Right.
But so, I don't know, ethics can look at it, but what it really tells us, she's the leader of the Democratic Party. And think about it, she doesn't call herself a Democrat, she calls herself a Socialist Democrat. You just put up $3.5 trillion, you really should put up almost $5 trillion, because that's how much they want to spend. And when you look at what they're doing, they're transforming America. What a tax is taking money out of every American's pocket and redirecting it to where you think it's important. Mm-hmm. So now if you make $800,000, they're going to give you a tax incentive to buy a Tesla. You know what they're going to do too? They're going to take away and give it a income for everybody guaranteed, 90% of Americans. But you know what? There's no requirement to work. There's no requirement that your child who gets his tax credit is even an American because there's no Social Security requirement. They're taking that away. And they're really going to harm American businesses because what they're going to do is they're going to give an incentive for American businesses to move to other countries.
By raising...
Oh, well, you hear those talking points all the time. And, my response to their talking points, because the Republicans are, for starters, very much hypocritical when it comes to spending. They talk about Democrats being basically big time tax and spend, progressives, tax and spend, liberals, or what have you. And they're like, oh, they're concerned about spending. Did you know that the war in Afghanistan, our occupation of Afghanistan, costs $300 million a day? And now that we're withdrawn from Afghanistan, I want to make a clarification about Afghanistan. When Fox News and even some in the so-called liberal media who are crying tears about leaving Afghanistan, saying what a big failure it was. I think it was like 120,000 people in a short period of time were able to leave, and the 200 Americans that are still in Afghanistan are doing it of their free will, and majority of them are dual citizens. And even those who are there now, the American government are trying to get them out if they want to leave, but they had been making warnings since late March that there was going to be a pullout. And the pullout was a success story. It'll probably be one of the best things Biden did while he was president. We're actually, it's really fiscally conservative what Joe Biden did, pulling the troops out of Afghanistan. Maintaining an empire is expensive, and we needed to be out of Afghanistan a long time ago. I'm glad he did it. He has my full support behind it. And the fact is, even from a fiscal conservative standpoint of spending, if it was up to these Republicans like Kevin McCarthy and these clowns from Fox News, we would still be in Afghanistan right now and spending $300 million a day. But they don't mind spending $300 million a day, maintaining war, droning people, innocent people, keeping that military-industrial complex happy, keeping the secular neocons in Congress happy, and actually appeasing the religious right who believes in neoconservative foreign policy because they think that our presence in the Middle East is a noble mission by God Almighty, and that Jesus Christ wanted us to go and invade Iraq, Afghanistan, and God willing, Iran. This is how they think. So, yes, thank you, Joe Biden, for saving us money. And if these silly people get triggered by the pullout of Afghanistan, all the better. So I want that out of the way. Oh, yeah, the dress cost $12,000 at this Met Gala that they're complaining about, that Ocasio-Cortez was wearing. And, the dress that says Eat the Rich, that looks almost, at a first glance, almost like the Chick-fil-A logo. This is what I got to say about their outrage, trying to make her out to be some kind of champagne socialist, and her being with these celebrities at this Met Gala event. My reaction is, that is my reaction. I could care less. I mean, do I think? It's not a big deal on one hand. On the other hand, I do think that it's not good optics for her to be doing this, because it just makes her look like a celebrity diva. And when it comes to AOC, and I'm going to go, and I have my opinions of AOC right now, in 2021, on September 16th, 2021, and I don't suffer from AOC derangement syndrome A or AOC derangement syndrome B, barring that from All American Socialists. His take on what he calls derangement syndrome of all of our fellow progressives. And as an aside note, I'm going to put down the link for All American Socialists, who is a left-wing YouTube commentator. My new plan is to promote fellow leftists online, and so people can subscribe, because we need to subscribe to each other to keep our subscriber numbers up. So, good guy, Michael Richards. Go ahead, subscribe to his channel. But anyway, he talks about AOC derangement syndrome A, AOC derangement syndrome B, and I'm going to put my nuance in as to what it means. And that means that there are people on the left, and this is just something that's within the left-wing community, our left-wing networking, and our left-wing, community, is that there are those who looks at AOC and think she is the most wonderful person that's ever lived, and she is just the greatest advocate for working class Americans, and she's going to lead us the road to the great glorious socialist revolution. I'm being a little over the top there, but you know what I mean. And then there are those within the left that look at AOC and think that she's a fucking sellout, and she's basically the new Nancy Pelosi, and the hell with her, and things of that nature, and she's no good to the cause. You got that kind of derangement syndrome A, derangement syndrome B. I used to be part of AOC derangement syndrome A, cheerleading for her all the way. In those early days, they were very easy, considering that she defeated Joe Connolly, who was a very powerful corporate Democrat, and she defeated him in 2018. And I'll tell you, she was a breath of fresh air when she first busted into the scene. But I'm not going to go and sound like Jimmy Dore, who craps on her all the time, and I like Jimmy Dore. I'm not going to sound like Fiorella Isabel, that also craps on her all the time. And I like Fiorella Isabel. I'm also not going to simp for AOC the way that Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian would on the Young Turks, or Sam Cedar and everybody else from Minority Report simps for AOC. My take is pretty much in the middle. And that take is this. The take is that it is what it is. You got AOC and the squad, and they got elected in the last few years, and they are objectively the best that we have under the circumstances. They're trying the best they can. I wish they could fight more. They were wrong to not go down the path of of forced to vote. They were very wrong. I still believe in forced to vote. I will always believe in forced to vote to the day I die. It was the correct path to take. And even if it fails, the fact that it caused havoc and misery to the corporate Democrats is actually just an awesome thing that can be done. Because if the Democrats can't do what is right and fight for working class people and take on the right-wing consensus in this country, they can't sit there and dismantle the Reagan consensus that's been here afoot in America since 1980, then, they need to be punished. So, yes, forced to vote 100%. So, in that regard, I'm disappointed with the squad in that regard. But on the other hand, all of us who are spectators, whether we suffer from AOC derangement syndrome A or AOC derangement syndrome B, whether we're simps for AOC or whether we think she's part of the problem, the actual truth is that AOC and the squad and Bernie Sanders in the Senate have their hands tied. I know that they wish they could do more, and in some ways, they allowed themselves to be a doormat for the corporate Democrats. They sit there and walk all of it over them, and it's really frustrating. And if anybody calls out on that bullshit, then they're being called secretly pro-Trump, secretly be called right-wing, which that's ridiculous too. Really, that's probably the most ridiculous of all the claims that are being made out there. But the point is that Kevin McCarthy and all of these folks from Fox, they want to go and make it out about AOC and acting like that that AOC controls the Democratic Party. Well, I have something to say about that. And what I have to say basically is to make the claim that AOC controls the Democratic Party. First of all, that's just emphatically not true. Who controls the Democratic Party right now? Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Barack Obama, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Jim Clyburn, and most notably, Bill and Hillary Clinton. That was the Democratic Party in the last 30 years. It is still the fucking Democratic Party in the year 2021. And that's the problem, Kevin McCarthy. That is the problem. to sit there paint Bernie Sanders or AOC, and if you want to even stretch it, even Elizabeth Warren as the leader of the Democratic Party. Let me just say this to people like Kevin McCarthy and these clowns on Fox News. I fucking wish that Bernie Sanders, AOC, and Elizabeth Warren controlled the Democratic Party. It would be a far better party if they were in charge, and as I said, the Joe Bidens and the Kamala Harrises and the Nancy Pelosi's and the Chuck Schumers and the Barack Obamas and the Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the Jim Clyburns and the Bill and Hillary Clintons just get the fuck out of the way and let these people in charge. Now, I don't want to I'm sounding like I'm contradicting myself because I sit there and just criticize Bernie Sanders and people like AOC and people like Elizabeth Warren. But at the same time, they're in hostile territory. And the hostile territory is that they belong to one of the two major parties. You know, one of them is a crazy right-wing religious bordering on fascist party called the Republicans. And the other one pretty much a secular center-right party on par with that in many Western European countries. I'm talking about the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is actually to the right of the Christian Democratic Union in Germany in many ways. The Democratic Party in the United States is to the right of the British Conservative Party. The Democratic Party in many ways is to the right of the Union for a Popular Majority in France, for example. All those parties being center-right parties over there. They're all to the left of the Democrats on certain policy issues, especially on health care. But the point I'm trying to make is that the Democratic Party is still a corporate centrist party. Kevin McCarthy can sit there and paint them to be a social Democratic Party, a Labor Party, a Socialist Party, a far left Marxist Party, or what have you. But no, that's just not the case. Now, I also think it's funny that Kevin McCarthy wanted to paint the Republicans as the party of the little guy and little gal. And if they were that, Kevin McCarthy would be supporting things like a UBI. He would be opposed to the ending of unemployment benefits and supporting unemployment benefits to be expanded and extended. He'd be supporting federal jobs guarantee, free college, at the very least a modified Green New Deal, raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, and lowering Medicare eligibility at the very least down to $50. If he thinks Medicare for all is too radical and too bold, and it really isn't, it's a pretty moderate, sensible thing to do to the healthcare system, is to transform it into a single payer system like they have in Canada or in Sweden. I had it my way. We'd go full-blown socialized medicine in Great Britain. And the thing about it is, Medicare for all is not a socialist idea. Medicare for all just means national health insurance. Socialized medicine is what they have in the UK, and that's the difference. Maybe you can go and say, if you want to call Medicare for all socialized medicine, you could say socialist. It's a socialist insurance system, but it's not the Medicare system. The medical system is still relatively private the way it is here in the United States. I would go full-blown socialized medicine like they have done in Great Britain with the National Health Service. But Kevin McCarthy is full of crap, and so are these clowns on Fox News when they claim that AOC is the leader of the Democratic Party. She clearly isn't. The only thing she is, she may be a symbolic head of the party, meaning that the Democratic Party is still controlled by the good old boy network. However, they use AOC as basically a tool for attracting the young. But what's the use to attract the young if the young going to be also a bunch of corporate Democrats? That's basically what I'm saying. So anyway, if you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree, well, comment anyway. We'll have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Feel free to also hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you kept up to date with hard-hitting commentary by yours truly. I am American Social Democracy. Peace and class struggle absolutely now.